Well, hello. So you've decided to embark upon the English language study journey. Good for you. Or if you're just an English language student or an English student who wishes to improve their English skills, then this is for you. Because in a lot of the study designs in the rubrics across the states in Australia and across the world, you need to be able to use meta language. You need to be able to talk about the language that you're analysing and the language that you're using. So let's have a look then at some basics. So first of all, the subsystems. The thing to learn first is the subsystems, and that's all the groupings for words and sounds. So it's all of those word types, sound types, etc. So you've got phonology, phonetics, morphology, lexicology, syntax, discourse, and of course semantics. So let's look at phonology first. Phonology is the study of the sound system of a language. So you study the structure of the sound system. How is sound formed in and through language? Now there's some abstract rules for the distribution of those sounds and the sounds that form language and the way languages organise the sounds. So there are 44 speech sounds in Australian English. So phonetics. Phonetics is the branch of linguistics that examines how sounds of speech are produced, transmitted and received. So it's a study of speech sounds, how they are articulated and how they're perceived by the hearer. So a phoneme is any distinct sound in the language that distinguishes one word from another. Now this is going to be especially important, of course, when you're studying or transcribing to spoken transcripts. So morphology. Morphology is simply word formation. It's those internalized rules about word formation. It's how words are structured. Lexicology is the study of the words themselves. So you look at the lexes or lexemes, simply the study of the form, meaning and behaviour of words, the nature and the function of those words, their function as symbol. So when you're looking at lexicology, and that's probably an easy one, if you're ever stuck on where do I start with the transcript, start with your lexicology. Just start at looking at the form, the meaning and the behaviour of the words in the text. So syntax. Syntax is the arrangement of words into logical meaning, into well-formed sentences that make sense. And syntax has a number of rules, principles that govern the structure of those sentences. Now, syntax is something that often teachers and students tend to avoid. But if you use it all the time, if you're constantly looking at how the sentences are structured, where is the verb placed? What's the use of adjectives in this? Where is the subject? What is the object? Syntax is something that you can easily comment on in spoken and in written transcripts. So discourse is any written or spoken communication. And that's it. Looking at the discourse is looking at what's written, how it's written, who it's for, what's it intended. Spoken communication, exactly the same. So semantics, and this is another area where you can look at your transcripts and easily pinpoint some starting places, looking at the meaning of the word. How is this word used in this phrase or in this text? Looking at the word use, the meaning behind the word. So especially in spoken transcripts, emphasis on a word or positioning in a sentence in written transcripts will affect the meaning. How is this word intended to be understood by the reader or the listener? So phonetics and phonology. You look at the prosodic features. Now you'll get a little box on most transcripts. They'll give you all the symbolism so that you can pick these out. Now the trick is not just identifying them, that's the easy part. It is relating them to the entire text and looking at their use and the intended use and how they're affecting what is being heard. So you look at pitch, look at stress, volume, the tempo, how fast is someone speaking, the intonation of the word, where is the emphasis, and of course rhythm. Now prosodic features. Intonation. Intonation are the variations in the sound quality of the speaker's voice. Intonation contributes to the rhythm of the utterances. What's rhythm? Rhythm, speakers often vary the beat of their language, depending upon their audience, their purpose and context. So if you're saying that old rhyme, that childhood rhyme, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, you've got some rhythm there. Pitch. Pitch of an utterance is closely related to intonation. It may be high or low or anywhere in between. So when you're listening and you're transcribing, listen carefully to the little clip that you wish to transcribe. And when you're looking, of course, at a transcript, don't forget to comment on these features. So more prosodic features are stress. Stress can be used for emphasis. So that's something you can say. If you see that a word is stressed, you can say it's used to emphasize whatever it's being used to emphasize, both within an individual word or in larger units of spoken discourse. Then there's also the volume. Volume can increase. That could show emotion. It could show what the audience needs to draw its attention to. So volume of an utterance will change in conjunction with variations of intonation and pitch. And then, of course, there's the tempo or the pace. It's the speed at which we speak. Sometimes we will speak very slowly and deliberately. Other times when we want to have a little bit of upbeat, we put a bit of excitement in our voice and we try and engage the audience that way. So now let's look at the other two subsystems, morphology and lexicology, together because they're so related. First of all, word classes. Verbs are doing words, as you would have learned in primary school. There are two types. There's a lexical verb, the boy ran to school, and there's the auxiliary verb. Now, auxiliary verbs are used to help express the main verbs, tense, mood, or voice. Now, the main auxiliary verbs that are in use are to be, to have, and to do. So we would say, the boy did run to school. Now, there are modal verbs. They convey attitudes or moods, and you can identify them quite easily, and these are easily to learn, and you should learn them. May or might. If you see can or could, if you see shall or should, or will or would. Then there's, of course, the adverb. These are modifying words which add information. So they'll give you an indication of when something is happening, where something is happening, the way it's happening. So for instance, he was sleeping well. So well gives us an understanding of how he was sleeping. Adjectives, of course, when we learn in primary school or in junior secondary, are describing words, and they'll provide information. So what colour are the leaves? They're green leaves. And a noun, as you know, as you would have learned before, is simply the name of an object, a person, or a thing. Now, some other things that we do need to know and we can pick up in the sentence that's really helpful with our analysis. Prepositions. A preposition is a word or group of words that are used before a noun, a pronoun, or a noun, and they'll show direction, time, place, location, spatial relationships, or they may even introduce an object, for instance, on, beside, under, etc. So they'll give you that relationship between the object and the subject. Pronouns are words that substitute for the name of a person, place, or thing, he, she, it. Conjunctions are joining words, and they're used to connect clauses or sentences or to coordinate words in the same clause. And the most common of these are and, but, if. A determiner is a modifying word that determines the kind of reference a noun or noun group has. For example, you would simply pick up a, singular, the, something in particular, every. Okay, so that's some examples. And again, these are easy to learn, easy to identify, and a good way to start your analysis if you're stuck. There's also interjections. They're a remark or an aside or an interruption. They'll typically be at the beginning of a spoken transcript if you've got something where people are coming together and they're greeting each other. Could be even when an apology is uttered, or if someone turns and addresses the audience. So you could get that in a play transcript or in a speech. So they release to the emotional energy. When it's not addressed to an audience, though, it can still convey that, or if with an audience, it'll engage that audience. So emojis, today, lots of people use emojis, sort of those Egyptian hieroglyphics that we all seem to use in the place of words. They can be used in a written text also to give expression, and I'm sure you've used many of them. So what is a lexeme? Is a word, a phoneme is a sound or a symbol. This is your meta language that you do need to know and you do need to use well. So denotation and connotation. A connotation is the emotional meaning of the words. That can be influenced by personality, belief, experience, and this will definitely differ person to person. Denotation is codified. It's the dictionary meaning of a word. So often we'll use words in a way that our friends may understand, but they're not actually the meaning or the definition given in the dictionary, so it's not official. Function and content words. So function words, they have little lexical meaning, so they could be articles, modals, pronouns. Content words are words that have specific meanings. They're your nouns, your verbs, your adverbs. And there's a little chart there that just summarizes it. A prefix. So affixation, again, really important to look at, really important tool for you to use in your analysis. Prefixes, they precede the core of the word. So intoxicated, non-alcoholic, uncooked. Suffixes end words, that's your eds, your s, your ing, they follow the root or the core of the word. And then you've got the infix. Now this occurs inside the root. So in English, only non-standard examples exist. So if you've got a formal transcript, you're not going to find, unless they're quoting someone else saying something, you're not going to find an infix. So that's when, I've just put there, Homer Simpson's edumacate, he's put an infix in. So it's going to be in your informal, your casual speech. So morphemes. These are the smallest units of meaning, okay, in the structure of language. They can be added to a root or the core of the word and classified as to where they appear in regard to the root. You can combine and recombine into an infinite number of words. So the root morpheme is the core of the word. Now you'll get bound morphemes. These are infixes that occur inside the core word. Your ly-ish, also called affixes. Prefix, unkind, suffix, kindness. So you'll get your bound morpheme and then you'll have that occurring inside the root or the core. Your free morpheme is a morpheme that is not bound to a word at all. So boy, girl, free morpheme. Inflectional morphemes, they add grammatical information, okay, to anything that they're added to. And derivational morphemes attach themselves to words to make other words, and these are endless. There are endless examples. So let's look at them. So bound morphemes can be used in two ways. They can be used to create new words, so that's derivational morphology, or to change the form of words, that's inflectional morphology. So derivational, real can go to unreal, okay, sad to sadly, unacceptable, you've got the prefix, suffix, and affix, okay, all around except, which is the core or the root word. Inflectional, a singular, plural, past tense or not, comparative or possessive forms. So syntax is simply sentence type, the study of how words relate to each other and combine to form meaningful sentences. So word order, special constructions, sentence type. Now there are 4 types of sentences, and again, it's really good to put this into your descriptions. Start using this meta language when you are analysing a transcript. Declarative, to make a statement. I've never seen Rome. Imperative is you issue a directive. Check out this article, do this. Interrogative is to ask a question. Where did Brad go? And an exclamative sentence is to express an exclamation. My great guy is, anything we put an exclamation on the end to exclaim something. Now this leads us then to clauses and phrases which make up the sentences. A clause is the main structure used to compose a sentence. Sentences will have one main clause, and that is a clause that makes sense on its own. A phrase can be a single word or a group of words that act together as a unit. And then a sentence then is a grammatical construction that makes sense on its own. It begins with a capital letter, it ends with a full stop, or it might end with an exclamation or a question mark, but it's constructed together, it makes sense, it's logical, and it conveys meaning to the reader. That's it for today. That's just a brief introduction to some of the meta language that you would encounter in studying English language. These are the starting points for you. These are the things that you need to know. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share if you enjoyed this video, and for now I'll see you next time.